Blast me to Calamer's skull. It's time for the Mad Merlin's Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. Issue 63, full coverage. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Mad Merlin's Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. So we're starting delivery 17 and we are beginning with issue 63. So this is the first of 3 issues where we get Stealth Marines. So I'll have a quick look at those. I'll have a close look at those in a minute under the frame, under the camera. So we also get our bases for this issue. So 2 40 mils and 3 32 mils. And we learn, well, not a lot in this issue actually. We have our 5 Space Marine models, building and painting guides, and we have data sheets galore. So let's get into this issue. We'll have a look at the frame itself, then we'll have a look at the contents, and as I'm doing full coverage in this issue, I'll introduce you to the armies I'm using, and then we'll go into our battle. So here we have our squad of Phobos Marines. So on here we have 3 Infiltrators, 1 Suppressor, and 1 Eliminator. And although I'm not the biggest fan of Phobos, these models do look fantastic and they are slowly growing on me. Yeah. There's no extra components except for 1 head on the Eliminator, so that you can make each one look a little different. But other than that, everything is pretty much monopose. Everything will be used. So we have a better look at the 2 heads. So you've got one with a hood down and one with a hood up. So far I've got the hood down, I think, on my current model that I've built. Because yes, I have built this because we are getting this frame twice in this delivery, so I've decided to actually build 1 squad and save this frame for issue 66 when we get there. And I've also decided that I won't be using the Infiltrators until 65 at least, when we have the Sergeant and Lieutenant, and we can actually start using the squad with a minimum of 5 guys. So, like I said, I'm going to build up 1 frame of this, so I'll show those off in a minute. And looking forward to building up the rest of these guys. So here's the build up models. I've put 2 of them into sub-assemblies. So we've got the Eliminator there. And I've just left his gun arm off so that I can reach all the detail down here, as the majority of it will get blocked, so I thought I'd leave it off. So I'm going to paint his little clasp there on his camo cloak and get all the detail on the holster and the purity seal there. But he looks an amazing little model. Really can't wait to paint these. I've also got the suppressor in a sub-assembly. Again, I've left his arms off. They just slot in like so. And I've left them off just so I can reach all the details around here. I am going to probably paint these guys up following the magazine's instructions, as, like I said, never actually painted any of these. And it'd be quite nice to paint something up in the magazine scheme all the way from start to finish, instead of doing it my own way. I still haven't decided if I'm going to be doing these as a sub-detachment of 3rd Company, or if I want to use them as 4th Company yet. I might keep things 3rd Company actually, but looking really good. I've also left this guy off his flying stand. I was hoping to show you my new way of doing flying stands, which is to have the curve going in towards the model, but sadly he's going to look a little too leaning back, as opposed to he can look a little more upright that way. And then we've got our 3 infiltrators here. I think this is my favourite one on the model because he's got his pistol out and he's got his bolter slung over his shoulder there. No magazine inside the stock, as he's obviously emptied out the clip, and he's now focusing his fire with his pistol on the enemy that are closing in. Bang. Yeah, definitely these guys are growing on me. We have another guy there who's just stalking forwards quietly. His bolter at the ready. Yeah. Loads of detail on these guys. I have built these all up as one piece, as you're not going to miss too much detail on them. And really, you can get to majority of it anyway. Even the grenades there, you can reach in behind with a brush to get a bit of metal on them. And we have our third one who's feet planted, steadily firing. Really good detailed models. Crack grenades, smoke grenades, pistols, and plenty of purity seals as well. So really looking forward to painting these guys. Right, let's take a look inside issue 63. Okay, diving into issue 63 then. So we got 5 miniatures with this issue, as we've seen. So our 3 Eliminator, 3 Suppressor, get it right in the end, 3 Infiltrators, 1 Suppressor, 1 Eliminator, 5 new models, building and paint guides, plus data sheets. Full contents of this issue, as I mentioned earlier, it is not a lot. We have the battle record for our Infiltrators. We have the build instructions for our Vanguard Marines, the paint guide for our Vanguard Marines, data sheets for Eliminators, Infiltrators and Suppressors, and we got a resupply mission for Mission 4. So, first off, we've got our battle record for our Infiltrators. Recon and Sabotage Specialists. Infiltrators operate in the Space Marines Vanguard, the section of the chapter responsible for operating behind the main strike force. The Vanguard's duties include reconnaissance, infiltration, disruption, and sabotage. Infiltrators are equipped to excel at all these tasks and more. So each infiltrator is suited up in Mark X Phobos armor. So this is a similar suit of armor to the intercessors, but is stripped down. It's made for lighter, quieter actions. Members of the Infiltrator Squad may also field Helix Adepts, who are training apothecaries, as they don't have any apothecaries themselves, so they have a specific adept who's trained in medical aid. They are often equipped with smoke grenades to help shield their approach, and they have bolt carbines. So these are more akin to the standard Space Marine bolt gun from the tactical squads, but they are updated with a little bit of Belisarius' cool technology. They have extra scopes and stuff to help with targeting, and they're pretty nasty as well. So, as usual, I filled out my battle record already. So this is Squad Quintus. They are experts at disruption and sabotage, and they are known as the Stalwart Tempest. So a storm that never moves. So we are led by Squad Atticus Quintus, who is the leader of a majority of these guys who resisted a heretic uprising. There's Andrus Apollon, who's a survivor of an orc invasion. Erasmus Maximus, who helped his sergeant to resist the heretics, as did Philo Strabo. Linus Desorius was a survivor of an orc invasion. Aegis Vespiad was the third son of a noble house. Florin Candion, or Cadron even, I can't even read my own writing, who's a survivor of an orc invasion. Cyrus Etruscus, who's escaped Dracari captivity. Cosmin Paizo, third son of a noble house. And Treyan Vento, who was tied from a feudal world. So our build guide is pretty straightforward. a lot of these models are very few components, but go together amazingly well. So we build our suppressor first. So we glue these 2 legs together to the lower half of the body. Then glue the front parts of the shin guards in. Then we glue the 2 halves of the backpack together and the front torso. And finally there's the head and the gun. Like I said, leaving the gun off is a good idea. It gets you access to more of the detail that would otherwise be hidden. And just gives you a better chance of painting. And then of course you glue into your flying stand, which I'll be doing at a later date. Then that Eliminator, so you've got 2 head options. So you can choose whichever one you prefer for this one, and then save the other one for the other one. But you could even have both of them the same if you wanted to, especially if you're going to run multiple squads of these. So the Eliminator is very easy. You got a leg that glues into the back of your cloak, front half of the torso, and you got your sniper, your backpack, and the head, of course. Then over the other side, we build our 3 Infiltrators. So these are all pretty much the same. They got 2 halves of a body, a left arm, a right arm, then the head and the backpack. Of course, these guys go on the 32mm bases, while the Suppressor and Eliminator will go on their 40mm bases. And moving on then, it's our paint guide. So, like I said, I might actually paint these guys up using the paint guide here. I will, of course, still prime these guys with my Crag Blue spray, as I've got a little bit left. But it'd be quite nice to do something as the magazine tells me for a change. So yeah, plenty of detail to pick out. So we've got Avalon black there, lead belcher for all the small metal details, Mornfang brown for all the pouches and straps. There's quite a lot on these guys, which is pretty cool. Rakoff flesh for our purity seal, parchment, scream pink for the eye lenses, buttons, and the purity seal wax. Mephiston red for a lot of our targeting lenses and screens. Retributor armor if we're painting second company there. Then we're highlighting our blacks and Mechanica standard grey. Agrax Earthshade over our brown and parchment. Reichland flesh shade over the gold. Non-oil over everything else. Then we got to relay our Crag Blue. You can, if you want, just do a recess shade. It might be a little easier, save you getting black everywhere. And then we're highlighting with Calgar Blue. Baylor brown on the brown details, pink horror on all our pink details. So we're actually painting the lower half of the eye lens with pink horror just to show it glowing up. That's going to be quite nice. Then we're doing the same with the Evil Sun Scarlet on the red, Pallid Witch flesh on our parchment, Stormhost silver on all our silver and gold details, and then finally an extreme highlight of Dawnstone on the black details. So we follow much the same paint guide for the main bodies of our Suppressor and Eliminator, but we have a few bits of extra detail. So mainly focusing on the Suppressor's gun here and his chest aquila there. They wear a modified version of Gravis armor as opposed to the Intercessors. Mark X armor is pretty much one suit that can be built up in many different ways. So yeah, focusing mainly on the gun here and the gold. So you got silver highlights there. We've got red cable there to pick out. Then on the Eliminator, so he's got a gauntlet here, which we're picking out Corax white, the screens with Mephiston red, and washing over all of it with Known oil, before picking out the screen and buttons with an Evil Sun Scarlet layer. And then we're focusing on the Eliminator's cloak. So this is going to be a rather camo pattern. Of course, I'll be painting mine much this way I did my Librarian's cloak to make it a nice snowy theme. So I'll be using similar colours though, but in different ways. Then we got picking out the goggles for the Eliminator's head, and it shows how to paint the bare head version as well there. And of course they're leaning on a little bit of rock, so just paint that with Mechanical Standard Grey. Before you apply your Astro Granite, Non-Oil and Dry Brush of Dawnstone all over the base. So there's actually some nice paint guides in the next issue 65, which we'll get to in a couple of weeks' time. And there's a gallery. We will have to come back to this issue for when we build and paint the other two Eliminators, Suppressors and Infiltrators, as it's not being repeated, which is quite nice, because I know a lot of the older magazines often had 1 or 2 extra stages, but it felt like they could have put a little bit more lore into it if they said refer back to this issue, but then add these extra stages on. That might have been better. That's what they've done here, though. They've got, you got to use this guide for all your Phobos stuff. Then issue 65 focuses more on the characters that we get in that particular issue. And that's it, pretty much. So yeah, really looking forward to painting these guys, as I've said. So next we've got our rules. So we've got the Eliminator Squad. So 1 Sergeant and 2 Eliminators. So they each have a bolt pistol and they all have bolt sniper rifles. And to fire these, you've got to choose which round you are firing. So you've got an Executioner, which is higher strength, low armor, but add 1 to the hit roll and your opponent doesn't get cover. The Hyperfang round, multiple shots, low strength, no armor, but has blast. So you're always going to guaranteed really the maximum of 3 shots with that D3. And then we have the Mortis round. So this is your character killer round, high strength, high AP, and high damage. And unmodified wound roll of a 6 will score a mortal wound in addition. Then the camo cloaks. So each ranged attack allocated to the bearer while it is receiving cover adds an additional 1. So that'll give you +2 to your cover save, to your armor save in cover, which is pretty cool. These guys end up being really hard to shift, so I've heard. Never had much use with them, much experience with them before, but there's a first time for everything. We got a couple of, well, not a couple, we got a single tutorial focusing on the 3 different types of rounds they fire. And then finally, we have our datasheet for the Infiltrators and Suppressors. Like I said, the Infiltrator Squad is 4 to 9 Infiltrators and the Sergeant. So when we come to 65, I might use them and the Lieutenant in a game along with the Librarian and some other Space Marine units for that particular issue. Then the Suppressor Squad there. So these guys have Accelerator Autocannons, which are heavy 3, strength 7, -1, 2 damage, 48 inches. So they're pretty cool. Nice long range threat there. They also have their bolt pistols for close range fights. They have suppressive fire, so if you score a hit, not just a wound, not a wound, but a hit against the enemy unit, that unit cannot fire Overwatch. So regardless of whether you wound them or not, your opponents can't fire back. So it makes them really good support units. So yeah, your Infiltrator Squads have your bolt pistol and your marksman bolt carbine. So pistol 1 and rapid fire 1. Each time an attack is made as a weapon, a 6 scores an automatic hit, automatically wounds the target. So that's how deadly they can be. Excuse me. They also have the Helix Gauntlet, Omni Scrambler, and then we have smoke grenades. They haven't actually given us the rules for them, which is quite interesting. But we still have one guy shown throwing a grenade anyway. So yeah. And on the reverse of that, we got the Helix Gauntlet, how it works. So basically it lets you ignore the first... I'll go back again. So once per turn, the first time you fail a saving throw, the damage has changed to 0. So here we see the Overlord has hit twice and wounded twice. So the first one is ignored, reducing the damage down to 0. But the second one, you still take 2 damage, so you lose an Infiltrator. And then we got a tutorial on how to use suppressive fire. So he scored one hit out of 3, and he failed to wound. But regardless, they scored that hit, which is the crucial bit for the suppressive fire rule. Right, speaking of crucial, it's time for a crucial resupply with our latest mission for the veteran pack. So I'll introduce you to the armies, and then we'll get into our game. So the mission uses random deployment objectives. So we have a total of 3 objectives, and they can go in a total of 9 different locations. So how these objectives turn up is at the start of the second round, you roll a d3. On a 1, it lands here. On a 2, it lands here. On a 3, it lands here. Then turn 3, it's B. Turn 4, it's C. You score 5 points for each objective you hold, and that's pretty much it. So it's going to be a pretty straightforward mission. Try and claim as many objectives as possible, but it all depends on where they land. So I'll introduce you to the armies, set up, and we'll get playing. So first up is the Imperial Force, and I've gone for a nice mismatch of various units. So I've took everything from the Sisters, as I wanted to try the Sisters out again after watching Tabletop Donkey's mission for issue 49, I think. Yeah, before the Royal Court, yeah. Where they had everything from the Sisters, so that really inspired me to try out the Sisters again and make use of all their different stratagems and stuff as well. So my Canoness is going to be my Warlord here. Reluctantly, she has taken with her a cohort of Skitarii, aided by Dominus and Engine Seer, as I had 3 points left over, so here's the only thing I could take. So he filled up the slots. He might become useful. And to make sure things go peacefully between the two other factions, there's a squad of assault intercessors, a lieutenant, and some outriders. Main plan for this is to position myself in places where I can get to all the different areas on the battlefield, making use of the fast-moving outriders, sky-striking Seraphim, and making sure I make use again of the Skitarii in their advanced movement. A lot of it will depend on where those objectives, of course, come in, as they are random. Right, let's introduce you to the Necrons. Forgot to mention as well, my Canoness I've upgraded with the Emperor's Grace power. So this is the one that stops rerolls from happening for Miracle Dice, and allows her, I believe, to regain wounds. I will confirm that later on. Right, let's have a look at the Necrons, and then we'll get into our game. And here we have our Necron force. So I've gone for something a little different than normal. I haven't used a spider in a long time, so I took him and a big unit of 6 scarabs for him to buff and protect. I took the Tomb Blades again. I think we're going to need some quick units for this particular mission. I've got my favourite Plasmancer, and he is upgraded with the Quantum Orb. And my Chronomancer has been upgraded with the Photonic Transsubjector, so it gives him a little bit more durability. Having seen how bad the Scorpec Lord leads the force, the Overlord has took matters into his own hands, bringing with him a bodyguard of 5 Immortals, 2 squads of 10 Warriors, and a squad of Flayed Ones there just to help get those far off objectives. And of course, Crypto Fools are here to bodyguard my various Mancers. I've took my favourite ones again, the Plasmancer and the Chronomancer. Really enjoying using these guys, and I'm really tempted to build my second one of those. And having looked at the rules for a lot of the units, I don't know if it's intentional or whether they just forgot to change it, but the way they've put some of these units, we can have multiples of them in the unit. So like for the Spider and the Scarabs, they still have the full Codex rules where you can have a unit of 1 to 3 and up to 3 to 9 of these. Same with the Immortals, it's got them as a 5 to 10 strong unit. So I might build my other 10 up, my other 5 up as another squad of Gauze Blasters, and then take a squad of 10 at some point in the future games. So yeah, not too sure if that's intentional or just an accident. They didn't correctly modify the data sheets. But I'm going to make use of that. I'm going to abuse that a little bit and take some extra units. Because I have got 2 Spiders built up. I've got a third, but I'm saving that for a diorama that I keep planning. Just need to get around to buying a couple of Rattlings on eBay. Hopefully the plastic ones to make them a little bit more easier to convert. But that's it. I'm done. I'm blabbering and we got a game to play. So let's get table set up and I'll be right back. Right, game is set up and we are all deployed. Before we begin, I just remembered I haven't done a question for the video. So to help get some interaction from you lot, here is this video's question. And it is, do you enjoy the dramatic reading or would you prefer my normal voice for doing the mission briefings? Let me know in the comment section down below, or just leave a comment saying what content you would like to see in future videos. So, without further ado, let's get into the battle. And, like I said, I've deployed my forces in a rather even spread, I think. So, there's units ready to go after each of the objectives when they turn up. So, as usual, we've got my dice there with 5 on, and each objective mark, each victory point next to that equals 1 or 5 points. As 5 is the only point score, this is when my tongue stops working. 5 is the highest amount of victory points we'll be earning this game for each objective. I've also got my command points ready and my quantum orb marker ready for the Plasmancer. And I've already planned out all my directives and stuff. I've rolled twice on the orders for the Battle Sisters, and I've got on Divine Guidance as usual. And I've also got Light of the Emperor, so that'll be quite nice to use for a change, something different. So, deployment made. The Imperium won the roll-off for first turn and have elected to go second. Quite odd. But we'll have to see how things go. But first off, here comes that dramatic reading. Crucial resupply. The Imperial forces, having established a foothold on Kalma's skull, find themselves pinned down by Necron gun batteries and phalanxes. Imperial forces will need a heavy explosives if the Necron's perimeter defenses are to be broken. With their dropships unable to enter the airspace controlled by Necron aircraft, heavy weapons and explosives have been dropped from orbit. The Imperium must gather these explosive drops if they are to destroy the Necron gun batteries. Impede the advance. The Overlord's forces on Kalma's skull outnumber the Imperial invaders by a ratio of 10 to 1, and yet more arriving with every passing hour. The Necrons intend to allow the Imperium to waste its strength, cutting off supply routes and preventing them from bringing heavy weapons to bear. Recover the supply drops. If the Imperial forces are to destroy the Necron gun batteries, they will need to recover supply drops containing heavy weapons and explosives. With Necron forces rushing to the drop site, they face a race against time to recover these essential supplies before the Necrons can destroy them. So, there we go. All what's left is to begin Necron turn 1, but first we got the pre-game move for the Skitarii. So I'll do that in a sec. But here we go with Necron turn 1. So the Scutari made their move, and before I move on, I'll mention that my protocol of the Eternal Guardian is active for this turn, and I've gone for Directive 1 for the additional bit of cover. Okay, end of Necron turn 1, and not a lot has happened. So, starting on this side, the Tomb Blades moved into the ruins and opened up on a Penitent engine, doing a massive 1 wound. I passed so many 5-up ignore wound saves, I think that's all my luck gone for the rest of the game. The warriors here in maximum range, the Assault Intercessors shot at them, wounding 1. Then the Immortals did the same, but this time they managed to kill 1. So, killed the one with the 1 wound, and the other wound jumped over to another guy. Finally over here, the Spider moved up into the ruins and shot the Scutari, who saved thanks to the Bulwark Imperative active. And then the Scarabs also moved up, hiding behind the pipes there, so nothing can really target them at the moment due to their small size. So, on to the Imperium turn 1, and let's just see how things go. End of Imperium turn 1, and things have gone pretty well for the Imperium. So we'll start off over this side. The Engine Seer and the bikes opened up on the Scarabs. The Engine Seer wounded once, and the Outriders got a total of 7 wounds. And even with the cover from the pipes, the poor Scarabs didn't save a single wound. So the 3 on the base wounded went, and then one of the ones in cover went. The Scutari in the ruins there opened up on the Spider that they could just see. Only had 4 guys in range. The Arquebus tried to go for the Overlord but failed. But I did 3 wounds thanks to the arc rifle only, actually. So it's actually pretty good. It's turned up. It's been good for once, actually. D3 wounds, 3 wounds on the Spider. The Assault Intercessors and the Lieutenant opened up on the Immortals, getting no wounds there. The Immortals managed to save. Battle Sisters opened up on the Tomb Blades. Again, the Tomb Blades managed to save everything. So the Penitent engine decided to go in for a melee, killing one of them. So now we've just got a few morale tests to take. So, can't really fail. So, morale test for the Marines there. They're fine. Morale test for the Tomb Blades. They're fine. And the Scarabs, they're fine. So, all we've got to do now is bring in our first objective. So, starting at turn 2, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. Oh, it would be over there. So, first supply drop has been dropped. Here we go then with Necrons, turn 2. Before we get started, my protocol this turn is Southern Storm, and I'll go with the extra 1 inch of movement. The Scutari have moved into Protector Imperative, so improved ballistic skill, worsened weapon skill. And then we've got Benediction the Omnissiah for the Engine Seer and Dominus there. Okay, end of the Necron turn 2. The Scarabs have moved up to swarm that objective. 1 of their number got reanimated thanks to the Spider. The Warriors, Immortals, and the other Warriors have all moved up. These 2 making use of the Overlords +1 and the Protocols +1. And these guys also moved up. Shooting phase, I only had a few guys that were actually in range of the bikers, and I wanted to try and do some damage to them thanks to the -2, but only managed to wound 1 for 1 damage. Killed a Scutari thanks to the Chronomancer, He's 5 up involvement on the warriors there. Combination of the warriors and the immortals whittled the remaining assault intercessors down to the point where I could freely open up on the lieutenant, but only managed to do 2 wounds. That was from the Crypto Thralls and the Plasmic Lance. Didn't do too well on my rolls, sadly. All that was left was a fight phase, so the Penitent Engine went first and killed another bike. So it's still a lot to play for, but we are into Imperium turn 2. I forgot to change my dice. So here we go. Okay, end of Imperium turn 2. Things have gone not too bad. The poor scarabs have been nearly obliterated thanks to overcharging the galvanic rifles. So they counted as rapid fire 2, so that got me 20 shots in total. The arc rifle did only a single damage to the... oh, that's the point. I was going to charge the engines here. Oh well, I'll leave it. Let's see, would he have made it? Yeah, no, 5 wouldn't have been any good. So he's stuck with his 2. So yeah, engines here also put a wound on the spider. The Outriders put their bolt pistols into the scarabs and their bolt rifles into the warriors, killing off a few of their number. The Dominus then proceeded to kill off another couple. The Arquebus went into the Chronomancer, who saved. Penitent Engine finally killed the last Tombblade, and the Sisters shot down 2 warriors here. So that's pretty much it for the Imperium. So nobody scored points yet, but we will do from the start of next command phase. So the second drop comes in either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, 6. So now we know where an objective is, we need to start making plans to get towards it. But by the looks of things, the Necrons are going to score points on it already because they have 2 models against the 1. So here we go then with Necrons turn 3. Also for Necron turn 3, we've gone for Protocol of Vengeful Stars, so that's an extra AP. Oops, on a roll of a 6. The Skitarii are going to the Conqueror Imperative, so improved weapon skill, but reduced ballistic skill. And for my 2 Engineers, Tech Priests even, I've gone for Listening Electromancer. I think they're expected to be in combat this turn, but things haven't gone as well as planned. But might be changing. But anyway, here we go. Necron turn 3. Okay, end of Necron turn 3, and we've started to do some serious damage. So from a combination of the warriors and the immortals, I've managed to kill a biker. Thanks to the scarabs in the charge phase, they sacrificed the wounded unit to inflict D3 mortal wounds, and I got a massive 3, so that's 3 wounds straight to a biker, with 1 wound left now. But I lost another base and half a base in the returning combat. Over here, the warriors shot, doing 3 wounds to the Penitent Engine, charged in, doing nothing, and he killed 3 of them for even bothering to look at him wrong. The Lieutenant took another mortal wound thanks to the Lancer there. And other than that, that's pretty much it. So Necron scored 2 points, and I forgot to mention, In the previous turn, I managed to actually resurrect a Scarab base thanks to resurrection protocols. So that's pretty cool. Scarab base returning on 1, 6, and 3 5s. So that's pretty cool. But yeah. Moving on then, it's time for Imperium turn 3. And the sisters are about to make a move to start taking some objectives, I think. We've been holding off for quite a while. It's now time for us to get into the thick of things. So here we go. End of oh, you're back. I forgot to do continuing fights, and now I've done everything. Didn't do too much. The Crypto Thrall fought back and did a wound to one of the Archoflagellants. The Plasmancer missed even with a command reroll. The Scarab sacrificed itself, killing a biker, wounding the sergeant, allowing the biker to consolidate to the objective. That's it. The spider died to the engine seer. Lost 2 more warriors to the penitent engine, but he's still alive. And yeah, it's looking like a Necron victory, providing they can keep the command points up. So, at the start of this turn, the Imperium got no victory points. But we have got all our units on the board. So the flayed ones are still off, so they are going to have to come in this turn unless they want to count as destroyed. But we have one more objective to come in, so let's roll that right now. So objective 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a 6. So objective 3 will be just inside that building there. So that's fine. The Repentia can actually pull back and get on that objective, or even the Battle Sisters can go back and hold it. So anyway, let's get on with Necrons turn 4, and we'll see how things go. Start of turn 4, the Necrons are going into Protocol of the Undying Legions. I'll go with the second directive, so re-rolling a reanimation roll. The Skitarii are going into the Aggressor Imperative, so improve movement, but reduce their save. And for our Tech Priests, we got Incantation of the Iron Soul. So we ignore modifiers on combat attrition, and also ignore wounds on a 5+ from Mortal Wound. End of Necron turn 4. And the last Outrider has died thanks to a Withering Hail from the Immortals. They used the stratagem to gain extra wounds on 6s, and I actually got 3 wounds this time, so 3 extra hits. Chronomancer fluffed his only attack against the Skitarii. The 2 warriors wounded the Priest Engine Seer, then the charged. 1 got shot down in Overwatch. As I wait, take off the command point for Overwatch. 1 got shot down in Overwatch, and the other didn't last very long against the Axe, being cleaved in 2. The little fight down here, the juiced up Archoflagellant killed the Plasmancer, but the Crypto Thrall killed his buddy. He would have regained a wound in the command phase, which I forgot to do for everybody. So, luckily the Plasmancer would have survived had he not failed 2 out of his 4 wounds. But he did manage to drop down his orb, which is sitting next to that objective over there. So if I want to claim it, I got to risk having the orb blow up, but might have to read into the rules to see if it works, whether it works having him now been killed. But on to the Imperium turn 4, and it's time to start cleaning up, I think. So here we go. End of Imperium turn 4, and I think it's game over. While the Necrons are currently ahead, in the next turn, the Imperium will score all 3 objectives. They will also score Slay the Warlord if they manage to kill the Overlord again. He came back after getting shot by pretty much everything. The Skitarii wiped out the Immortals. Then everything else left went at the Overlord. So he is down to 1 wound when the Repentia charged in, and thanks to a command reroll, I managed to get the Mistress in as well. Cost me my last command point, but keeping her in range to add +1 to those all-important wound rolls was much needed. So yeah, I rolled the Overlord saves one at a time, and he made all of them except for the last one. So he made 5 4-up invuln saves and then failed his final one on a 2. But like I said, dropped command point to bring him back, and he came back with 1 wound remaining, so he's still on 4 wounds taken. Yes, there isn't a lot the Necrons can do to take the win. The Quantum Orb will go off, providing... The rules don't say it doesn't activate when it's dead, so I'm going on as long as it's down, it will still go off for the moment. Correct me in the comment section if you know for a fact. Excuse me. But I'm going on as is, so yeah. With that, I think we're going to call it a quits, and the Imperium are going to be victorious because they are, at the moment, rather dominating the battlefield. The lieutenant's alive only due to cowardice, so he might receive censure from the captain. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, moving on, let's see what is in our next Imperium. So, next issue 64, we get the Immortals / Death Marks. Full build and paint guide, plus we have new rules for our Space Marines, so this is all the different deployment rules, so the second half of the Angels of Death rules. So we get concealed positions, combat squads, and sky strikes, which will all come in handy for when we get issue 65, which is our 2 issues ahead. So we get more Vanguard reinforcements, we get a foldout for the Warzone on Kalmar's Skull, and we have a new datasheet for the Phobos Lieutenant there. And I'll actually be fielding 5 of these guys plus the Lieutenant in 65's battle report, as we have a minimum squad of 5 of these, so Sergeant plus 4. So I'll go Sergeant, Helix Adept, and 3 others. And then we get the Lieutenant, so I'll be doing some nice Phobos stuff for issue 65's battle. But that is everything. So all what's left for me to do is say thank you all for watching. Of course, don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section down below. It helps the channel get noticed more, and you have, of course, the joy of talking to my mad self. There's also the questions video to answer, so don't forget to answer that. And there's, of course, all my links in the description down below. So, all what's left for me to do then is say thank you again for watching. If you haven't already, give the video a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time for more mad content. Goodbye.